What is going on, guys? My name is DFree. Welcome back to another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video. In this video, I'm going to talk about the upcoming cards that are coming out on Global Dokkan and whether or not they are worth your time. Now, obviously, this has a little bit more relevance to the paying players because a lot of the free players will just say, hey, I don't care about this banner. I'm waiting for X banner. So that's totally understandable. But I mainly wanted to do this because it's amazing how opinions change, right? Because a lot of us main the Japanese version that are content creators, and that's fine, right? And things come out earlier over there. For example, I'm assuming that this is coming out, the banner's coming out because they do have the event coming out because there's a stage that you farm the medals for, Bullpan or Brawpan, and Bandel and Caroli's Dokkan Awakenings. So I'm assuming that the banner is coming out. Now, the funny thing is these units all came out prior to that, and then they got a rebirth with that stage like a month later. So obviously they're not really doing that here. And these units had relevance on the Japanese version, and there are units here that just flat out don't have relevance at all. And now that this is coming out on the global version of the game, and we know a little bit more about the Japanese version of the game and what gets there, and some of these units that we overlooked previously are now amazing. So I want to go ahead and talk about that here. And just really quick, as far as the opinions changing, if you ever wondered why, like on older videos when Vegeta Blue first came out, he's a perfect example. We condemned him to no end. Like we were like, this guy sucks. Well, we didn't say he sucks. He just wasn't as good as he could have been, because RNG and things like that. But with Cooler, right, physical Cooler, he's RNG too a lot of the time, but we don't criticize him the same way. It's because the potential system changed a lot of units' perspectives, and Vegeta Blue got ridiculously good with the potential system. I'd even go out on a limb to say when his leader comes out, he'll probably be a top 3 unit in the game, just individually, setting aside leader skills. So anyways, let's go ahead and talk about this. Now, Brawpan was honestly one of the better units in this banner. One of the probably top 2 or 3 units in the banner, but she's kind of still up there. But she was really good for her passive, Key 3 for all allies, Key plus 3 for all allies when HP is 30% or above. Now, when she dropped, right, her passive was 50%. Like, I think this is the rebirth version. Yeah, this is the rebirth version, max level 120. Her passive was 3 key when 50% or above. They didn't really change her for this version of the card, but what made her really good was that key supporting passive, and that's still a really good passive, but the problem is she doesn't have the same treatment on global because that Super Saiyan 2 Rebirth AGL Goku that gives 3 key when he's 99% or below on HP on his passive, that guy basically took the relevance away from this card. And she's coming out on global, and he's already been released because she came out on JP prior to that Dokkan Awakening. So is Brawpan worth your time? Sure, if you don't have it, if you don't have any other units that can support well and you really, really need a key support, understand she's not going to hit very hard at all. If you have a Vegito lead or anything like that, she's not going to hit very hard. She's going to hit for like 60k, if that means anything to you. I'd honestly rather just use the starter AGL Rebirth Goku because he has a really good passive. He gives his allies 2 key and 20% more attack. That attack increase is very significant, as I'll talk about in a moment, or at least it gets a lot more significant as the game progresses with these 120% leaders, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta and all those guys. So Brawpan, honestly, I don't have a tier list for this, but honestly, she's a solid unit, but I honestly, if she's your goal, I wouldn't go for it, unless you just want the card art, which some people do. Caroli is the main banner unit. Okay, Caroli has a supreme damage, rare chance to stun, 80% up at the start of the turn, no restriction, unconditional up. He has solid links, Super Saiyan, Saiyan Warrior Race is okay, Saiyan Lineage is okay, Berserker is meh as a Broly link, Fuse Fighter is really good, and Shattering the Limit is what it is. Caroli, right? Stun chance I think is 20%. It's a rare chance. I kind of get these rares and mediums mixed up sometimes. Forgive me for that. But regardless, is Caroli a good unit? Yeah, he's a really good unit. He'll get a lot better when you put him in the potential system. I have not done so. I own a Caroli. I have not really tested him there. The problem with Caroli is on the Dragon Ball Fusions banner, which Global probably just will not get because Fusions isn't the thing globally, unfortunately. Gotenks, adult Gotenks is a tech unit too, and he kind of comes out and he takes relevance away from this guy. And the sad thing about Caroli is that he actually Dokkan Awakens with the physical Broly medals, or the STR Broly medals, if I recall correctly, and they didn't bother to give him Fierce Battle despite using that medal. So it's not a guarantee that they're gonna give them Fierce Battle if they use those Dokkan boss stage medals. So he does use those, but doesn't, which would have made him a lot better. 80% is nothing to snuff at, though. I would have preferred it on a super attack because that would allow passive and things to activate. So regardless, Caroli's really good, but I honestly don't think he's the best unit in this banner. He's probably the third best unit in the banner, and I'll talk about that now. But previously, he was the best unit for sure in this banner. Like Alex the Gaming Claw did videos and things like that, and we talked about it. Or maybe Brawpan was the best unit, but regardless, Caroli is still really good, but he's not the best unit in the banner anymore. He's a super tech unit, by the way. If you wanted to throw him on a Super Saiyan 3 Goku team, theoretically you could, but there were better units for that. Unless, like I said, it depends what you have individually, whenever that comes around in Global, the Tech Super Saiyan 3 Goku in 45 months. But I'm just playing. Bandel, the fusion of Pan and Bandel. Supreme damage, all allies 30% up, unconditional. And she has Fuse Fighter. Fuse Fighter is a really good link. It's very versatile. There's nothing else really to this card, but honestly, when she came out, I was like, she's probably the third or fourth of these new units that are, tier of these new units. But she's fortunate enough to get an Awakening. So, like, I don't know if they had foresight for this, but she's really good because 30% up to all allies is really, 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 really good as the game progresses. You'll find that on an intelligence team, she's going to buff these guys for an insane amount of damage. Not just, 10k, 15k. It's going to be a lot more significant than that. The trade-off is that she herself will not hit hard, but your other two guys will hit really, really hard. So Pandel's a support unit, and these support units that are like that, we're starting to use them a little bit more on the Japanese version of the game, because I can only really speak for that, because that damage increase that they put out is significant. Like, if you guys saw the video me, Zenra, and Alex did, we talked about that a little bit in there, but you're going to start seeing damage outputs of like 120, 200k additional, just spitballing random numbers, but 30% is a really significant number. So she's probably your main goal, aside from who I'm going to talk about next. So she's probably the second unit that you should try to go for. The next one is Coolzia or Fura, whatever you want to call it. 70% up when performing a super attack, supreme damage. It sucks this isn't 80% because this doesn't go well with the creep of the game. But if he came out today, it'd probably be 80% or 90% or something like that. Another thing is, too, it sucks that he didn't get a Dokkan Awakening, but this guy links amazingly with LR Frieza. He links really, really well, to the point where I'm considering using this guy on an extreme STR team whenever that leader comes out with LR Frieza, because of the sheer links. They share Universe's most malevolent, strongest clan in space, thirst for conquest, fear and faith, which LR Frieza does have fear and faith, but not shocking speed, surprisingly, but it's okay. He doesn't have Fuse Fighter, but he has Metamorphosis, so he shares every other link with this guy. That is ridiculously good, right? This is a 15% link. That's a 2-key link. I think that's a 2-key link. I think that's a 10% link or 15% link. Let's actually pull it up here. This may be the key. Yeah, that's the key one, and the other one's the attack link. And Universe's most malevolent is for 15. He's giving him 30% on this guy. Like LR Frieza. No, don't do that. I clicked on the Frieza, not the source. There we go. Yeah, all those same links. The only difference is this guy has big bad bosses, which is unfortunate that the Coolzia or Coolzia, whatever, does not have big bad bosses, but it's okay because I'm assuming that anybody else you're running on this team will have it, like Rildo or Bojack if he's on the team or whatever. They're going to have big bad bosses, so you can put Frieza in the middle, and you're activating all his links, basically. So 70% up too. Don't snuff on this guy, because with the potential system being out, if you chose to buff him, which I wouldn't prioritize him, but if you chose to buff him, 70% could be really significant, especially as the game progresses and you get an extreme STR leader that's offering 120% up on these guys. And he's linked with the Frieza. That's a 30% buff as well on his own links. So he himself can start to hit pretty hard, especially if you max out a super attack somehow. So Coolzia is honestly the best unit in this banner at this point, sheerly because of his duo with Frieza. Caroli is the banner unit. Sure, he's the main banner unit, of course, but he doesn't have any practical use in the meta at the moment. Bandel is probably the second one because she does have practical use, because she's really good. She's universally good. That's the thing. So I don't know. She may be up there as number one, to be honest, but this banner is honestly pretty solid. Let's go ahead and look at the next couple units. Barlet, Barado, whatever. Honestly, he's very underwhelming. He's just honestly not worth it. I mean, he's a fusion of Goku and Bardock. He's not worth the stones. If he's what you want, I'm sorry, he's not worth the stones. His links are subpar for what he'd be used in. He doesn't have Prepare for Battle. He doesn't have, what's it called? Kamehameha or any of that, right? 12% up is a nice nuking passive, I suppose, but I can't find any real positive for this unit to run. I honestly never ran this unit. You know, I may do a nuke video on the Japanese version, but I never ran this unit. Like, I tried to, and he just couldn't fit anywhere. So, unless you're running a fused fighter team, he's not worth your time, to be honest. You know, nuking passive, like I said, that could be cool, but 12% is kind of underwhelming nowadays. So, I don't have anything really particular to say about him. Yeah, I want to find something positive. I don't have anything. You know, he doesn't have anything really for him. But that's more Bardock's fault than Goku's fault, because they like to give Goku the links, but Bardock sometimes gets shafted with links. He gets all these links like Saiyan Pride and Family Ties. Those aren't bad links in particular. They're just not very versatile. None of these links are, except for Fuse Fighter, are very versatile. They wouldn't be caught most of the time on the mainstream teams. But like I said, it all depends what you have individually. If your box can sustain him and you want him, go for him. Like, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. It's your game. So Chow Man. Chow Man's an interesting case because he was the main target that I wanted, because he's an AoE, means he hits all enemies on the field. He lowers your HP by 20% when he does a super attack, but he's really self-sufficient. When you drop below 50%, he gives 8 ki and 3,000 attack to himself. And it only happens once, but it doesn't matter in the tournament because it's still going to kill that enemy, and then that resets. If you're on like the preliminaries or whatever, he can do it again the next round, I believe. But regardless, even if he couldn't, he's still an AoE. But the problem is you sacrifice 20% of the HP, which people were really mad about, but that wasn't very significant back then, you know, because you didn't have an amazing number of HP, and he still would one-shot the opponents. That was the main thing, is if he could one-shot, it didn't matter, and you could just heal the next round. So the problem with this is on global, he's not very relevant anymore. He's dead on JP. You don't touch him, and that's because he came out pre-nuking. Like, you know, when nuking became the meta for the tournament with these nuke leaders of these units, you stopped using him because there's no point. You'd rather just run, you know, Xenotrunks if you're running physical nuke. But regardless, I mean, you could run him if you wanted to sacrifice the 20%, but he just immediately became like the worst AoE just because of that. You know, and then Arale, she came out, she is the STR lead. So then you have STR with Arale, you have Broly, you have that Super Saiyan 3 GT Kid Goku. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody on AoE. I mean, they have Cell too, but like Cell's not really, STR Cell's not really like an AoE like that, because he needs 11 ki, and it would be so much better if he needed 12 ki for that, because then you can nuke with him, but you can't really nuke with an 11. You could, but like it'll be too difficult, too tedious. But, you know, STR is probably the best team for that, or Tech. Physical, honestly, as a whole, even with Xenotrunks, kind of pops off as being the worst one. But regardless, Chow Man, I'm sorry for you, buddy. You were really good. Now you're just not that good anymore. Like I said, opinions change. And we have Tien Sha. You actually get Tien Sha for free for logging in. I'm assuming they're going to do the same thing. If you're curious as to what he does, that's what he does. Once per battle. HP is 80% or above, 5 ki and 2,500 attack. Extreme damage, and reduces the attack. So he could be, you know, a solid reducing unit if you needed one. They lowered his attack stat to 6,400 with giving him 2,500 in mind. So that's why they did that. He's very self-sufficient, but it's only once per battle. So as soon as you get him, when 80% or above, like if you get him first turn of the battle, that'll activate, if that means anything to you. But that's it for the Dragon Ball Fusion stuff. Like I said, there will be a event for that to get those medals, so I'm assuming they're going to drop the Rebirth banner and just drop all these units with their rebirths at one time, as opposed to doing like they did on JP with one and then a month later the other one. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Nonetheless, subscribe to the channel if you happen to be new, and I will catch you guys in the next Dokkan video. But until then, stay swaggy, have an awesome day. Peace.